What's up YouTube, Zero here, and welcome to the place where gamers, witches, wizards, and superheroes unite. Today, I have an amazing level 15 build for the Technomancer in Outriders that I call the Toxic Freeze. Before I get into it, I do want to say if you do enjoy this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more Outriders content. I got a bunch more fun builds coming out, so be on the lookout for those. Without further ado, let's talk about the setup. So for my first primary, I have a light machine gun. This light machine gun has two mods on it, Critical Point, which increases the chance of scoring a critical shot by 15%, and then I have Snow Squall. Snow Squall reloading weapon inflicts freeze on enemies previously wounded by this weapon without changing it. That is an amazing mod to have, so remember, you need Snow Squall. Try to find it and equip it on your primary weapon, the light machine gun. Then I have a rifle one-shot, which has Proliferation. Shots on enemies affected by a status condition inflict that status to the nearest enemy. So this is an amazing mod that I recommend on this build as well, and I'll talk about it later in the video. Mr. Fix-It. Fixing Wave activating the skill grants you and your allies 100% armor and resistance bonuses for 5 seconds. This is more of helping us be a little bit more balanced. I do have Healing Wave on this build. So we're not going to be using Ice Ice Baby, so put something, a mod that is for blighted rounds in that spot. But Bullet Recycling, reloading weapon when your shield is active, disables ammo consumption for 5 seconds, so that's a very nice mod to have. This is the most important mod on our armor. Trick Up the Sleeve. Blighted rounds, while the skill is active, killing shots grant you 30% extra bullets in your mag. Remember, Trick Up the Sleeve mod, you need it on one of the pieces of armor, and I'm going to talk about it during the gameplay. Then I have Hail Shot. Cryo Turret increases the turret's damage based on your status power. And finally, on our boots, we have Ice Pack. Cryo Turret. The turret heals allies by 20% max health within a 20-meter radius when the ability ends. So that's nice. You can get some healing going around whether you or your allies are near it. Then we have Blighted Rounds, which is going to infuse our mag with Toxic, and it's going to deal Toxic to not only the enemy you shoot, but enemies within a small radius also get inflicted with Toxic. So that's nice. Blighted Rounds, remember this is a Toxic Freeze build, so Blighted Rounds are going to be dealing that Toxic for us. Very great for this build, and we saw Trick Up the Sleeve. That's going to come into play as I talk about it later in the video. Then Cryo Turret. You've seen my videos before. I have been using Cryo Turret heavily. You lay out a turret, it freezes and damage enemies. Remember, this is a freeze build as well. So we're trying to inflict 2 statuses on enemies, both Toxic and Freeze. And then Fixing Wave. This is going to be helping us out a little bit more defensively when we get into a rut. Also, our allies, if we use this with our friends, this is going to help us and our allies heal up if we start to feel the heat a little bit. If we start to take a little bit more damage, it's more of a failsafe so we don't die. Now we are going into the middle tree. Anomalous Body, increase your max health by 10%. Then we have Gadgeteer, reduce gadget skill cooldowns by 15%. We're really focused on the Cryo Turret, but this also helps us out with Healing Wave as well. Then Anomalous Body again, we get our max health increased by 10% again. Then Armor Plates increase our armor by 20%. Then Fracture, enemies affected with freeze receive 10% more damage. We are distributing that freeze around, so Fracture is very important. Then we're going to increase our health by 10% again. Then Wipeout, enemies below 30% health receive 20% more damage. And then finally, we have another cooldown, which is going to be Gadgeteer again, reduce gadget and skills cooldown by 15%, which again is the Cryo Turret and the Healing Wave. We're more focused on reducing that Cryo Turret though. Hopefully you won't be using Healing Wave too much. Again, it's more of a failsafe, but it is nice to have when you get into a pinch. Now, let's go back to the name. This is a Toxic Freeze build. We're trying to inflict Toxic and Freeze on all of our enemies. As you can see here in this clip, I have a lot of rushing enemies. I'm inflicting Freeze on a lot of them. I'm also inflicting Toxic on a lot of them. The Cryo Turret is doing the Freeze for me, and then I have my light machine gun out where I activated my Blighted Rounds and I'm inflicting the Toxic. Now, trick up the sleeve. I said I was going to talk about this, and this is extremely important to the build. Every kill grants you 30% extra rounds in the mag, and this is why having a light machine gun is extremely important. A light machine gun already has a huge magazine. 30% after one kill is going to give you a ton of rounds back in that magazine. You can almost, if you play it correctly, have blighted rounds for your entire battle. As long as you don't switch guns or accidentally reload your gun, you can have blighted rounds for almost the duration of the battle. Remember, blighted rounds doesn't go away until you switch guns or reload. So having trick up the sleeve coupled with a light machine gun can almost guarantee that you're going to have blighted rounds for your entire battle. Again, as long as you don't switch guns, which you might. You may want to switch to that one-shot rifle, because remember, proliferation is a really good mod to have as well, where you can spread that toxic and freeze to enemies. But I really do enjoy using toxic rounds and our bladed rounds because it's just amazing to have with that trick up the sleeve. Then we have our cryo turret, and the cryo turret, it's going to be freezing a lot of enemies. We have, when enemies are below 30% health, they're going to be taking more damage, so we're going to be able to kill them even quicker. And you saw there me using healing wave. I got into a little bit of a pinch. My cryo turret was behind some cover, not giving me the help I needed. So these enemies were attacking me. I was trying to move away a little bit. They were hitting me a little bit, and so I was able to use healing wave to kind of play that defense a little bit better. Ultimately, this is an absolutely amazing setup to have. I love dealing toxic and freeze on enemies, and you can kill enemies really quickly with this. You can see all of these rushing enemies. A lot of them, as long as my cryo turret is still up, aren't even getting to me because I'm going through them really quickly. Now, when they do attack the cryo turret and it goes down, luckily we have the skill points that we put in where our cryo turret cooldown isn't that long. So a lot of times our cryo turret is going to be back up and running by the time we need it to be, if enemies are taking it out. Overall, this is a very balanced build and does a lot. The healing wave is great for defense. We also have a lot of skill points in extra health and extra armor, so that's good. That's on the defensive side. On the offensive side, we have blighted rounds, which are going to deal us a lot more damage. We have trick up the sleeve coupled with our light machine gun. So that's going to make sure that we can almost deal toxic for the entire battle if we want to. Again, sometimes there may be enemies further down the line that you may want to pull out your one-shot rifle. But the good news is the one-shot rifle has proliferation, so you can still be spreading out that freeze and toxic to other enemies. The cryo turret is going to be great for both defense and offense. Defensively, freezing enemies is going to stop them from rushing you. We don't want enemies to get up in our grill as a Technomancer. And it's also going to freeze enemies, and we're dealing extra damage to freezed enemies. We're also, as their health gets whittled down by our cryo turret, dealing extra damage to enemies that have less than 30% health. This also is great because a light machine gun can be more of that medium to closer range gun, while the one-shot rifle is more of that longer range gun to help us out with more of that longer range combat. Let me know what you think of this build. Have you used it? Do you enjoy using it? Honestly, this is my favorite build for the Technomancer to date that I have played with. I've played with a lot of different combinations. This is my second Technomancer build video, but I have been really loving this build more so than the other one I came out with. The other one's more of a glass cannon. This one is great, both offensively and defensively. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this. What are your favorite builds for the Technomancer in this game? So I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thanks for sticking around with me until the end of this video. Again, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you next time. Peace.